Welcome to the Women of Fort Mill, South Carolina. I'm Kelly, mom of 2 teenagers, serial entrepreneur, and lover of all things that inspire and empower women. After years of supporting women on their journeys, I'm thrilled to be here to spotlight the powerhouse women who make Fort Mill so special.
And I'm Leah, mom of a very busy toddler and your go-to financial guru for making sense of money and planning for the future. I absolutely love helping women feel confident in their finances. And together, Kelly and I are here to connect you with the stories, tips, and insights that can help you thrive personally and professionally.
Every week, we're inviting you to join us for a quick 20-minute chat with local female business owners, women who are really changing the game here in Fort Mill.
You'll walk away with new ideas, practical advice, and a deeper connection to the community. Whether you're seeking motivation, actionable tips to grow your business, or just a bit of solidarity and the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, you're in the right place.
This is the Women of Fort Mill, South Carolina. Let's dive in and meet the incredible women here in our community.
Welcome back, Women of Fort Mill podcast. My name is Leah Williams, and I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Mara Campolungo, an incredible wedding officiant, community mentor, and the executive director of The Sandbox, a nonprofit who has served over 5,000 families who have faced complex medical journeys. There's so much I could say about this woman. I'm going to try to condense, but Mara's heart for service is deeply inspired by her late brother, Mark, who quietly provided care for those in need. His legacy sparked Mara's mission to walk alongside others during life's most meaningful and challenging moments. So through The Sandbox, the Evening of Believing Prom, which many of you have seen and know The Sandbox for, and the CARRE Program, Mara keeps pouring her heart into the community in so many powerful ways. So Mara, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, like I told you before we started recording, I feel like we would need 6 hours to fully,
At least,
cover all of the things. Every time I turn around, there is a new initiative and mission, whether it's through The Sandbox or something that is just you are doing for someone else or the community. But through all these things, you run a nonprofit, you beautifully officiate weddings, you've been a great mentor to others, whether you knew it or not. So what inspired this path? I know your brother played a big role in the founding of The Sandbox, but what keeps you going and lights you up and gives you purpose?
well, I think you asked me what keeps me going, and I think that this journey started with a deeply personal season of loss. I felt uncertain and I truly felt transformation. And along with that transformation, when I was still and just listened, I felt a calling to turn all of this into some sense of purpose. And so after much consternation, after several weeks away at the beach, just in quiet, I realized that the most powerful work I could do was to help people feel celebrated, help them feel seen, and primarily supported. So for me, whether I'm creating comfort for a family that's facing a medical crisis, whether I'm creating a ceremony that captures a love story, or even mentoring somebody that's navigating a transition, I personally come alive when I can offer breath in someone's most meaningful or conversely, their most vulnerable moment. And that's what keeps me going. Possibility and presence keep me going.
We still have to renew our vows. You still have to do the ceremony for my husband and I at some point.
I'm still waiting. I have lots of ideas, but I'm holding them.
I know. I was hoping for the 5-year, maybe the 10-year, but it's going to happen. Well, you have such an incredible story, which is why the first time that you and I met many years ago, I don't know how long we stayed in that Earth Fair, but it was a long time and I could have stayed the rest of the day.
I'll never forget that.
It was so impactful. I just remember feeling, I just met this woman. And yet I feel like I know her so well. I do want to be her best friend if she'll have me. You could tell there was something different and so impactful about you. And I think that's the amazing thing is that's how you make everybody feel. And that's a gift, but you're also very intentional. You have a lot of creative energy. I'm still blown away by the different ideas that you come up with. Can you tell us a little bit just more about yourself and how your work weaves into the community and compassion that you have? Obviously, these big moments in people's lives when they're getting married and you facilitate the telling of their story, that all ties together and it touches on a little bit of what you just mentioned. But how do you make it all work? Because each of those things require a lot. and yet you do each of them so well?
Well, I think there's a relationship between all of them. I know that when I wake up in the morning, I'm very in touch with who I am. I'm very in touch with what my gifts and talents are, and I stay far away from areas that are not my zone. But basically, I'm a creator and I churn, my mind churns. So I'm always creating, I'm always storytelling, and I'm always connecting. So when you think about that, everything I'm doing falls within that zone. So my journey has really just blended all of those gifts, whether it was nonprofit leadership, creative writing, public speaking. I feel like there's almost a sacred reverence in all of that for life's milestones. And I personally see celebration and compassion not as opposites, but really as partners, because I think one brings color to the highs and the other brings grace to the lows. And I've spent the last 25 years building community that honors both ends of that spectrum. So whether that was founding the Sandbox to support families facing their child's rare, terminal, difficult diagnosis and other complex issues associated with that, to officiating weddings or celebrations of life, where I get to witness and actually be a part of elevating love, elevating commitment, and I'm actually building legacy for people. So when I get done with a ceremony and I get messages like I've received over the last couple weeks, I received a message from a mom that said, "This woman will be in our life forever." And I thought, okay, then, but what an honor. What an honor. In the meantime, her 25-year-old son, who I adore, in planning meetings, calls me dude. And I imagine that there's significant legacy that goes with that because that young man requested the video, every single inch of the video from his ceremony, when previously he said, "I don't want that." And so I think it's because for years to come, he's going to remember that ceremony. He's going to share it. We're going to have viewing parties. And it's part of the framework of their life.
When someone can take what you have experienced with one of the most important people in your life, the person you're about to marry, and relay it in a way that people feel like they were there, that they were present, that means so much because I think it's so meaningful to us when these big things happen in our lives or we love someone so much. We want other people to know. We want to share it with them. And for you to be able to take their story and it's almost like you were there because you understand people. I think that's what probably turned that groom from, these things aren't a big deal, to, I love this woman. I love our story, our ceremony, and how beautiful to be able to help someone share these wonderful moments. And I know you have quite a network, quite a humongous base of connections, and many of them started over a magical coffee. Why do you think sometimes those, what seem like small or maybe insignificant moments or connections with people really blossom and turn into something so impactful?
It's funny you asked that because I was talking to my friend Erin and she said, "I want to do a conference and I want you on the agenda." And I said, "Great. What's the topic?" And she said, "Coffee connections." So I said, "Coffee connection?" She said, "Every time I would bump into you or I would talk to you, the next thing I know, something big is happening because you had coffee with someone." And so I really thought about that because I knew you would probably ask me about coffee and how I feel about it. And so I thought, what is it about it? And I think that there's something incredibly human about slowing down long enough to sit across from someone with a cup of coffee in hand. Because when you think about it, you're vulnerable. It's unguarded. It's accessible. It makes space for truth and stories. And some of the most pivotal collaborations and friendships and healing conversation in my life have started over coffee. So when you think about it, coffee is a vessel for connection. When I ask somebody for coffee, there really isn't an agenda. It's really just coffee. And so there's no expectation. It's just, can you make the time to just show up? I love coffee meetings because I think that our world moves so quickly. And over the past several years, it started moving even quicker. So when you take the time to make the time, those small pauses leave a huge imprint.
Well, I can speak from personal experience, not only from the years ago that we got together, but I remember after you met my mom for the first time. And then later that week, she told me, she said, "Do you know who reached out? Mara." I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah, we're going to have coffee." And I just thought, that woman, she's doing it again. It's so meaningful because so many people will meet you and say like, "Oh, it was wonderful to meet you." But that's where it ends. Even if there's "Oh, we should get together. I would love to learn more about you." Sometimes we just let busyness and life get in the way. And that is one thing you have always been so intentional about is one, if you say something, you were going to do it. But I think my mom had this gift and you definitely have this gift. You're able to make people feel so loved and valued. And I think that's also what comes out of those coffee meetings. And that's why so many ideas are born because people feel comfortable, safe, and they can become creative with you.
And it's fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What's not fun about brainstorming or collaborating or running ideas? It's just fun.
And life needs more fun. It needs more laughter, joy. When I have conversations with people, I always ask them what gives you joy? Because everybody has a different answer. And how do we create more of it? What are one or two meaningful takeaways or lessons or just advice that you would give to women of Fort Mill and really just women in general, knowing that you yourself have received fulfillment through all of the impactful things that you've done through nonprofit, celebrating big moments in people's lives. And you've just had such a big part in so many things in people's lives. So anything that you would share with women of Fort Mill?
I've spent over 25 years with a little tool called the DISC profile, and I share it with others voraciously. I use it pretty much on a daily basis. One of the basic premises of the DISC profile is understanding yourself. And once you understand yourself from that place, you can truly understand others, right? I think I uniquely know who I am in my own skin, and I show up exactly as I am all the time. And so I would encourage other people that you don't have to wait until perfection or something's polished. My favorite quote is, "I'm building the plane while I fly it." And in any venture I've started, I've pretty much been doing that. I build a plane. I don't have all the pieces and parts in place. And most of the people I share that with like that. I'm not claiming to be perfect, but I invite other people in and ask, "Would you like to help? Can you help me make it better? What are your thoughts?" And I think that the most meaningful connections and gestures I've witnessed, I don't think anything was ever flashy. I think the most meaningful gestures are raw, honest, and really rooted in honest intention. And so I encourage every woman to just be real and raw. And those that can't accept it, well, that's okay. Bless. But I also think that every woman has a story worth telling. And not only that, but I think there's power in letting that story be witnessed. So vulnerability is magic. So whether you're holding space for someone else or you're stepping into your own spotlight, I would say, please don't ever underestimate the ripple effect of showing up with your heart.
I think that's powerful, especially for women and with many of the insecurities, because the different things that we go through in life, to be able to show up confidently, knowing and loving who you are and knowing that that can be a gift to so many when you show up that way, that will change your life because you will now confidently step into any situation and all these opportunities, they fall in your lap when we just show up. When we meet someone and this has happened so many times where I'm like, I really like this person and they're just real, they're just raw. And I love that because there's no surface fake persona. It's them, who they really are. And I think women really appreciate that.
I would agree. Totally.
Well, every woman is going to want to connect with you. And there's a lot of ways that they can. So whether it be they want to engage in learning more about the Sandbox and the different resources and services they offer, or someone's engaged and they're thinking, this woman, nobody could tell our story better than her. What are the different ways that people can connect with you? And then if you could highlight some of the programs that the Sandbox has and is developing too, that would be amazing.
So the Sandbox, I have always said, we solve a lot of issues over food, fellowship, family, and fun. And while it sounds really basic, we serve the entire family. Our work with the entire family is supporting them with dignity and with care. And sometimes that happens over food. Sometimes that happens over gatherings. Most times it happens over gatherings because you're just having conversation. And then when you put other families in conversation together, it solves a whole lot of things. And over the last 15 years, I've seen a lot of evolution in our own charity. I've seen evolution in what people want and what people need. 2 years ago, when my husband received a very serious diagnosis, we would go on gratitude walks. And during that time, my husband requested that I put a program together, and he wanted to help scholars, meaning members of the Sandbox. So it may be an honoree who's facing a diagnosis, or it may be a sibling of an honoree, to get an education. So we brought in professional mentors and set up a plan to launch this program. And I wanted to launch it quickly so he could feel his legacy. And we called it Adopt a Scholar. And it's been incredibly successful, not only to the scholars, but to their families. And recently, Neil and I began collaborating again, and we said, what if we could offer this scholar program to professionals? And so the next wave of the Sandbox is providing 4 professional scholarships in the community, because what we see as such an incredible benefit is the ability to compound the impact. And frankly, I'm at a stage in my life, and so is my husband, where we have a heightened sense of making it count. Frankly, when my husband was sick, we didn't know if he would make it. And so there was an urgency to make it count. And so I think we keep living with that urgency right now. This week, we will roll out the 4 professional scholars, and I'm really excited about it.
To be able to duplicate impact, and you have always been a champion of this, better together, knowing that one person can do quite a lot, but when you partner with others who are mission-minded, the ripple effect is just so much bigger. And I also recognize that it takes someone that's really humble, that's more about impact than themselves. And some people, that's hard for them to do. So the fact that you have taken the impact that the Sandbox is making and are now saying, okay, well, Sandbox is incredible and it's impacted thousands of families' lives. But how do we have a role in helping other organizations and now even other professionals that are doing great work expand that? It's quite unique for a nonprofit to want to invest into other nonprofits and other people instead of just continue the really amazing work of the Sandbox. You're doing both. You're, duplicating through other people. So I think that says so much about you, Neil, the volunteers, because all you really care about is impact.
That's right. And it's exciting to be behind the scenes of someone's vision and to help amplify that for them, to give fuel to their fire. I'm looking forward to announcing the 4 scholars because we haven't officially awarded them yet. I will hold off on saying more specifics now, but each one of them brings something very different to the table. And to see how this is going to end up, I think we're going to have a ripple effect for years. I have never done anything quite like it, but you can obviously tell I think it's going to be incredibly meaningful, impactful, compounding. And I like being over here in the corner, kind of watching it roll out.
Yes. Well, Mara, how can people connect with you? Instagram, Facebook, the Sandbox, what are the social handles? What are the best ways for people to connect with you in the Sandbox?
Well, I first would like to say that any listener that would like to share something or make a connection with me, I would open with welcome arms, like, let's meet for coffee. And in doing so and in making that connection, I can be reached at Mara Campolungo. I think it's Mara Sandbox on Instagram. It's Mara Sandbox. I can be reached on Facebook. You can go to our website at gotsandbox.org. And if somebody's interested in a wedding, they can go to gotsandbox.org /celebrations, or just email me. I prefer my personal email, which is mara@mncampo.com. And if not, they can call you and you can let me know who they are.
There we go. I will connect away. And we will make sure that all of your info, social media, email, all of that is in the show notes too for people to go. And don't be surprised if your inbox blows up. I mean, just you'll have 95 coffee meetings scheduled in a few weeks. But thank you so, so much for sharing your story, expertise. And I mean, it's always a pleasure. I always value any time that we get to have together. And we would love to do whatever we can to support the mission, the cause. Be on the lookout, everyone, for more news on this Scholar Program. I think it's quite exciting, the work that Mara and her husband Neil are doing. And I encourage you to get involved in whatever way you'd like to, but there's many ways that you can get involved. We appreciate your time, Mara. Thank you again for spending time with us. And ladies, we appreciate you spending your time with the Women of 4 Mil podcast. We would love a follow. Obviously, more follows, views allows us to bring on more exceptional women like Mara Campolungo. We are just honored. I know I can speak for Kelly too in saying that it's a blessing to be able to meet all these women making a change, creating impact in Fort Mill and beyond. You can contact Mara with her info in the show notes. And if you love this episode, please rate, review it, share it with another woman that you think it would be impactful for. And that is it for us. Mara, thank you again for your time. We love hanging out with you. And ladies, we will see you again on the Women of Fort Mill podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Women of Fort Mill, South Carolina. We love bringing you the stories of these incredible women, and we hope you're walking away with a little extra inspiration every week. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps us reach more amazing women like you and grow our supportive community.
And for all the latest updates, tips, and behind-the-scenes fun, make sure to follow us over on Instagram, Women of Fort Mill Podcast, and tag us to share what inspires you each week. Plus, join our email list to stay connected, be the very first to know about the new episodes and fun events. Thanks for being a part of our Fort Mill family. We'll see you next week with another inspiring woman right here at Women of Fort Mill Podcast.